if I'm not going to offer free shipping, then what are the most important things I can do to convert the cart, right? Because I'm a retailer. I absolutely cannot offer free shipping just based on my products. It doesn't make any sense. But I do want to increase conversion. When someone comes to you with that problem, what are you typically pointing out to them that are some of the biggest factors in buying behavior?
I would say, use upsell tactics.
Welcome to another episode of the Decoding Cross-Border Ecommerce podcast. And we're your host, Clint Reid, along with Aaron Bezzant. And today we have a couple of guests that we're really excited about. In-person guests, all the way from up north in Canada. Sharon and Joel from Intuitive Shipping, the co-founders at Intuitive Shipping. Sharon's the CEO. And Joel, CTO, product, all the stuff, right?
That is correct.
Okay, great. Well, Intuitive Shipping does shipment rating, and so today, at checkout, and I'm sure I'm simplifying this. I can't wait to hear more about what you do. But before, tell us a little bit actually about starting Intuitive Shipping, how it got going, and how the idea came about, and a little bit about the company and your vision, or whatever else. Would love to hear about it.
Yeah. So the journey, Joel, you can probably start with how you got interested, and ironically, how I became really interested in this space has to do with this problem you guys solve. So we solve it from the end of the cost. You guys solve it from the end of the unexpected costs. So Joel.
Yeah. So I started out with a friend of mine was looking to calculate shipping costs in his e-commerce store, and so being the type of person that loves to find solutions to problems, I offered to build something for him, and he wanted to calculate the shipping cost based on the total of the cart. So built it out for him, got it working, ended up selling it on the marketplace we were in, and using user feedback, just slowly adapted the extension or app to be able to calculate things like quantity-based, eventually went into live carriers. And then in 2016, shifted our focus to the Shopify market, and rebuilt the platform from the ground up to work with Shopify. And that's how Intuitive Shipping was born as a product.
So have you always been a programmer? This was your life dream? You were going to do development?
No, I started at about 16 is when I got interested in programming. I would find myself running into issues, and I was like, I need to find a way to solve this. So I learned how to program, just taught myself through tutorials and stuff, and then use that to really kind of grow and learn as a developer. And it's a really fun way to tackle the problem, because if I run into a problem that I don't know how to solve it, I seek out the solution. So I'll look for the types of tools that can be used to solve it. I find ways to kind of a non-traditional approach to solving problems, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah. And then you decided to come into the shipping game too, huh?
Yeah. So for me, you guys have seen me in person because we came all the way down. It was fun. Long journey. You guys do it all the time though, so my goodness. So I am 6 feet tall. I had size 12 feet until I had my son, and now they're size 13 because there's this chemical hormone that makes your body just relax everything, and it's like your feet grow.
Whoa, I did not know that.
I had to get rid of so many shoes. It was so sad. So I would be back when the internet probably wasn't safe, and my dad's credit card information was probably compromised, but it's totally fine now, I guess. So I'd be looking online, and most stores that would sell shoes at that time a size 12 were in the States. And I'm like, okay, no worries. We're right across the border. Shouldn't be a problem. And for the stores that did ship to Canada, it would be this astronomical price. I'm like, why is it $70 to ship a pair of sandals across? It didn't make sense to me. And then as Joel was solving this problem with his clients, saying like, hey, can we do this? Can we do this? I'm like, what you doing? And I became really interested in it because I realized, I guess, in a self-serving way, that I can fix the issue I'm facing. And the reality of it wasn't that online stores were just being silly or just having just weird strategies of like, let's just make money. There was just no way to control the shipping cost to Canada in a way that made sense. So they're like, let's just overcharge. So this way, if they order it, great. If they don't, that's fine. We have enough US clients. So then Intuitive Shipping actually solves that problem by having them control their shipping cost and charge the right price, whatever that might be. We recommend using smart boxing because it kind of Tetris style packs the order and is the most accurate way. But then the problem, interestingly, that would happen is all of a sudden I'm like, okay, cool. There's not a lot of information on their shipping page. They don't ship too often internationally. And I'm like, where's the order? It's been 3 weeks. It got stuck at customs. And then I'm stuck with a large bill that I have to pay to not get my shoes. So I love this space so much. So it's just what started with rating is now so much more. It's context control. So having upsell messaging at checkout, it's having the delivery dates, it's having the boxing data go to fulfillment, just to make sure that people can be more eco-friendly and also save money. So I love this space in a very unique way. And Joel and I, it's really interesting because we're very similar in how we view the problem, but we're different enough that we can steer it in the right way.
And it's a pretty small space. First off, Aaron, aren't we so excited to have some Canadians on this podcast?
Oh, absolutely.
Are we your first Canadians?
Well, yes. I mean, we're trying to explain this problem to Americans all the time, and they're like, "What's customs?"
Yeah.
Duties, right? So, I mean,
it's a huge problem we face all the time.
Yeah, right. And so that's why when we're talking to you about kind of what we saw, you're like, "Oh, this fits great," right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
we'll shoes.
You're right, exactly. This industry, though, is I think sometimes it's actually as important to clarify what you do and also what you don't do. Mm-hmm. Do you guys offer shipping rates and do labeling and all that kind of stuff?
We don't do labels.
Right.
We actually wanted to at one point because when we first started, especially, I still remember people being like, "What do you do?" And we explained. They're like, "But shipping's free." They'd be so genuine about it being free because these are consumers. And they're used to just paying nothing for shipping, not knowing that the store is losing a ton of money on it. So for us, it's just, how do I explain this?
I don't know exactly where you're going with this.
That's me too. What was the question again? Now I'm just like,
I was asking a little bit about the industry and the things you don't do, like labeling, right? And offering shipping rates.
That part.
It's more the calculation.
What I was saying. Yeah. So when we did start, we can include that people did think shipping was free, but it's just not a free thing. So we don't do labels. People would think shipping labels. They think labels automatically. They are two pieces of the same journey, but they're two completely separate pieces. But they have to play really nicely together. We don't do labels. We don't do duties and taxes. Just like how you guys don't do a lot of the customization that we do, because it's its own beast. And we just focus on doing something really, really, really well. So anything at checkout for rating, dates, control.
Right.
And it's only in that piece. But it plays nicely everywhere else.
And you're a carrier agnostic product, right? I mean, you really are an engine out there that is just doing calculations, customizations for the consumers to just create a great buying experience or an informed experience maybe for buying.
Oh, I like informed experience.
So, okay, free shipping. Like, why isn't it just as simple as that? Because you mentioned free shipping. Like, why are you in business here, right? I can just put $0. I don't get it.
You should ask Amazon that. Didn't they lose around $7 billion in shipping the other year?
I pay my Prime membership and I get packages daily that are free shipping.
But this is what's so funny, though, is so consumers just don't see it. They're paying a membership for the express shipping, and their goal is just to take over. They're totally okay with losing money on it. But it's just, if you think about when e-commerce started, the first players online were established brands, and they had enough knowledge in their distribution network, and they could lose money, and it's okay. Clothing is a lot easier to ship than an automotive part. It's not realistic to expect that it's going to be free to ship some gigantic piece of machinery. So clothing kind of caps out, and you can do some math and figure out, okay, what's our average order? What do we actually need to make on it? What's our average shipping cost? So with clothing, it's a bit easier. It's like very single SKUs, it's very easy. But the moment you have any complexity, it's just not. And think about sending cookies to somebody at Christmas time. If you go to the post office, you're like, hi, I'm going to send these out. They charge you for it. So it's just a bit silly that people think somehow that it's a free thing, because it's just not.
But we've been conditioned to think it's free as a consumer.
Silly.
Yeah.
So would you say that one of the biggest reasons a merchant comes to you is the profitability reason? Is it conversion? What are the top reasons, and what does like an ideal customer look like that's looking for help in this space?
I can take this one.
Yeah, if you want.
Honestly, it's all of the above. Some people will come to us for the costing, because if they are doing a lot of international, that's where we really come in handy with the fact that we can get that boxing algorithm to really get a defined cost, so that when they do print the label, there's no unexpected fees or mismatch in rating. And then, you go from that side to, there are some merchants that can do free shipping because they have the logistics process and they're willing to eat the cost, or it's kind of buried in the product price. So they come to us for the customization with, it might be marketing during certain times of the year where they're doing promotional shipping, or, setting expectations on the delivery date is another one.
Would you say the majority of, to me, I look at it as there's the accuracy portion of it. Hey, I just want to make sure I'm quoting the right, so I don't lose money, and that I'm, I'm looking at my margins and my profitability. And then there's the informed decisions that you're trying to, present to your customers, and you're trying to improve conversion. So you might get creative with free shipping or flat rate shipping or whatever program you want to put in place to try to increase your conversion. I mean, how does that sit with would you say the majority of customers are just trying to get more accurate rates? Or would you say it's really all about the conversion that they're focused on?
It depends on their industry. So we service any type of client. Like if you sell online, we can help you out. So people who sell the large bulkier items are looking for more accuracy, because when you're off on a rate, you're wildly off.
Yeah.
And that's just not good. And especially let's just say you paid way too little for shipping on an item, and the next time you come back and it's fixed, you're like, what the heck? So you just want to have the consistency throughout. So it really, just depends on who it is. A lot of more clothing retailers, beauty brands and stuff, they want the context. Even there's times where I actually ordered candles recently, and I was a bit frustrated because they were backstocked, wasn't really sure of it, but the shipping page just says, we'll ship in 2 days. And it took a month and a half to ship. And it's just that expectation was not set properly. But with Intuitive, you can have, if something's out of stock, have a certain customization message and have it, hey, this item will ship after this date, just for context. So it really it depends entirely on the store.
Yeah, I think from our perspective, because we're typically, companies are coming to us they're losing money. Customers are rejecting packages. Customers are rejecting packages that they're surprised with duty and tax. So I think we're maybe we maybe see a little bit more of that accurate calculation side, and also all we do is cross-border too. And I bet you on your cross-border shipments, they're more worried about accurate calculations than not they still don't want the other experience. But we had, and I bet you've had examples like this too. Like we have a massive customer that before signing up with us, because we do shipment rating stuff too, like you said, not to the extent you guys do, but we do similar things that we're trying to assist with on the international side, more because we have to in order to calculate duty and tax. It's like we've been pulled into it. But their policy was give us a call, send us an email, and then we will go calculate everything. And this is like a major, major customer. And just on the international side, and then they would email them the quote later, and the customer would then go back and place. It was do you run into some crazy ones like that?
Destroys conversions though too, because who's going to go through that process unless it's something very unique?
Right, which in this case I think it was, because they had tons of business. Right,
so
obviously it was really badly wanted, but it was the manual time. Yeah.
It's just so much time. We actually see that example more on the retail wholesale side. So if you're a wholesale customer, you'd have to have this whole process of, because obviously a consumer, they're ordering a box size, a wholesaler is ordering a skid. Completely different shipping strategies there. So they'd have it, if you're wholesale, you have to call in the whole quote process. And with Intuitive, you can have them split. So if it's a customer tagged wholesale, great. They log into their wholesale account and they're good to go. It's just tagged properly. They're charged for shipping in the right way. And it just streamlines everything. It makes sure that nothing's, maybe someone's like, oh my gosh, puts it off, then it's out of stock. Maybe another person ordered it, causes more friction and stuff. It's just It doesn't make sense nowadays with technology to have it where you're having a manual process for something that can very easily be automated.
You know what I
That's
thought
the
of?
creepiest one.
So
I'm like, what's next, Aaron?
I did have a question. I have a question though.
Yeah.
I just want to sprinkle this in there. How did the pirate get such a good deal on his ship?
How, Aaron? How? I must know.
Yeah.
He got it at a yard sale. It was a real bargain. Didn't even cost him an arm and a peg.
Oh, it's so great.
Oh, that was a triple header.
Our team's going to be so proud.
Okay, now back to reality.
Yeah.
The problem you guys are solving, though, is really important, especially internationally. I was kind of looking at some numbers before we came in here. Shipping costs are a huge portion of the cart value. I just looked at some brief numbers. It's typically 15% or more of the actual cart value is the shipping costs.
On cross-border.
On cross-border, yeah. Obviously, domestic, a lot of free shipping and things where you kind of blend it in.
It's a lot easier.
Yeah.
And especially because you have the data of most of your purchases are happening in domestically. So you have more data to go off of what to charge.
Right. And there's cases, though, where it's much higher percentage depending on the type of product you're shipping. So it's all over the map, but it's very, very, very relevant. So being able to present that properly to your customers and make it clear and also make it palatable, right? Like make it so they want to buy still. That's a unique problem that needs to be solved.
The 15% you're talking about, I love stories about like retailers there was another massive online retailer I visited in person, and they took like that 15% and they just said, look, we're just going to charge 15% of the cart value on all of our orders. And that's how we're going to calculate shipping. And they sell a ton outdoor retailer type stuff, like ton of random stuff. Oh. And so you can already anticipate the problems they had, right? Which is somebody buys a Rolex watch from them and the shipping costs are astronomical. So no one buys the Rolex. Yes. So what does everybody buy?
Canoes.
The canoes and the coolers. Yep. Yes, you're exactly right. The big massive coolers. We're losing money here. Like you're getting the bad behavior and incentives. And the same thing would be with duty and tax. If you were like, because duty and tax comes out to be about across the board, all the countries, on average 15% about as well on cross-border. But if you just did a blanket thing like that, then, customers in Alberta that know that all they should be paying is GST, right? And all of a sudden it's 15% of the cart value. And then, somebody in Brazil where they know it's 100% of the cart value and you're now only charging 15%, like, whoo, right? You're going to get completely, slaughtered. So
wait, you mean to tell me consumer behavior is an important thing to understand? They're
yes.
not, you mean when they come to the site, they're not just going to buy no matter what's presented to them?
Well, that's free, they'll buy.
Well, if they're free, yeah. But I think that's the point is they're savvy. A lot of these shoppers are savvy. So the one buying the canoe, they recognize a good deal when they see it.
Oh,
and they're going to buy it.
Yep. And then they'll buy the Rolex from the competitor.
Yep.
100%.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
If they don't have a unique product, they can just shop around.
But if you're naive enough to say, well, I'll just keep dialing up the percentage, you're going to sell fewer and fewer Rolexes and more canoes.
Right. Which is probably where all your margins are.
And eventually you won't sell anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Any thoughts about these consumers and the psychology, right? If I'm not going to offer free shipping, then what are the most important things I can do to convert the cart, right? Because I'm a retailer. I absolutely cannot offer free shipping just based on my products. It doesn't make any sense. But I do want to increase conversion. When someone comes to you with that problem, what are you typically pointing out to them that are some of the biggest factors in buying behavior?
I would say, use upsell tactics. So it's, a certain cart value will get you that free shipping. So that this way, you're meeting your margins. So you can offset that shipping cost into your margins. That seems to be the most common way. Another way is maybe pad your product cost a little bit with a little bit of that shipping and then, offer a discounted shipping rate. So instead of them paying the full amount, maybe you take, $5, $10 off of that or do a flat rate where you can kind of win some, lose some. It's so tough because every consumer group has a different, an outdoor savvy person's looking at big bulky items.
Really, it's about because there are cases like you still have to charge for shipping. It's a reality of it. And especially if you're smaller, you have to figure out, how do I stay in business? A lot of it is just having a really, really solid experience from a targeted ad and having consistency all the way through. Having a shipping information page that actually has information on it of when you ship. Just if you are smaller and you have something that is expensive to ship, explaining, hey, coolers are expensive to ship, and just informing customers of it. But something actually that you just reminded me of is back when we started, I think it was the first year, there was this man who wanted to sell, it was homemade hot sauce and kind of like seasonings, and they're in glass bottles, and he wanted to charge $8 per bottle of the hot sauce, but shipping was going to be around $12. And I'm like, we'll just flip it. So if you know consistently, okay, like, and you have a unique product again, because it doesn't work if you're selling the identical t-shirt to someone else. They're just going to go elsewhere. But just flip it around so that the hot sauce costs more money. And this way the consumer sees it like, okay, I can justify spending that money on shipping for it, because people cannot pay more for shipping. They just cannot reason in their heads, why am I paying more for shipping a product than it costs me to actually pay for it. It just does not make sense for them.
This has been a challenge for us too with duty and taxes, and something we've recently launched is the ability to include your product price, like duty, a certain amount of the tax and duty, if not all of it, into the product price. And two, by region, some customers expect the taxes inside the product price, but it allows for that. And it's tough too, because surprising customers at the checkout is with a high duty and tax cost. I mean, it's better than surprising them at the door, but it's still a bit of a surprise. And it could be 15% shipping, 15% duty and tax. The cart price just went up 30%, hard for conversion. And so I love how you solve some of that in similar ways that we solve for it, which is, and it is very dependent on the industry and the customers. But hey, let's move things around a little bit and see what we can get out of this.
Well, it seems what I'm hearing is you've got a shopper is starting their buying decision way before they get to the checkout and even see the shipping costs. And so they get a price in their head as they're shopping on the product pages. And then if they get an unrealistic price presented to them at checkout, whether it be shipping or duty and tax, but they're going to bounce, right?
Yeah.
Yep. That needs to feel reasonable to them when they get to the checkout.
Well, as a Canadian, so I know, because I've shopped online enough, where I know what the duties should be. So for me, if I see that the duties are included and it makes sense, I'm like, I can kind of do quick math in my head. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And I will actually buy, because what other choice do I have? Like, if I don't want to pay duties, I'll shop domestically, but there aren't that many retailers in Canada for me. So I really have no choice but to shop in the States. So I'm curious what your data shows, because for me, I'm less likely to abandon the cart if I actually see the transparency. But I also can imagine there's people who just forget that it's a thing because they're so used to free shipping. Like, well, Amazon does it; it's totally fine. I'm wondering if it's a bit different on your guys, because you guys have all the data. I'm one person.
I also think, from again our own experience being in Canada, the carrier makes a big difference too.
Oh, geez, Louise,
USPS, that's okay. UPS, you're likely going to get smashed with duties.
Yeah. We did not prep you to say that, by the way, because this is weird. No, it is not. Yeah, we talked. So we had a podcast about a postal DDP product we have to Canada, and it is exactly this, and which is Canadians know that there is a de minimis, right, going into Canada of 20 CAD or 40 CAD, and but depending on the method it's going. But what they also know is that something that's going to be shipped USPS or, moved through Canada Post is maybe not going to get duty and tax, even though it's above that de minimis. There's a different number threshold. And so with our postal product, we just guarantee that there will be no duty and tax when it's underneath like a certain value for the most part. I mean, there's some other things we have to kind of look at to make sure that we're trying to predict the behavior of CBSA, Customs Border Service Agency.
The inaccurate behavior of the postal
Yes,
guard, right?
Did they have a good morning that day? It's going to depend.
Yes. Okay, it's peak season. They're overwhelmed. All right, maybe more is going to flow through because Canadians, and then they know if it's coming UPS, the shipper in the US might think, I'm going to send this UPS ground. And in our podcast, we talked about carrier fees. It could end up being $40 or $50 in fees.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Even worse, so there's sometimes where there are stores who will switch who they ship with because they're American. They don't understand the repercussions of it. And I shopped this one store as a tall retailer a few times. I'm like, okay, it goes quite quickly. I didn't have to pay duties the first few times. All of a sudden, I had my order value was lower than any of my other ones, and I was hit with a $70. I'm like, what? And I was just shocked. I never shopped there again because on their shipping information page, it says they use USPS. I emailed them. They're like, oh, we changed the carrier depending on the day of the week. The reason made no sense. I'm like, okay, but it made them lose me as a customer. And if you think about them, they're very niche. I was buying for them nonstop, but I won't anymore.
Yeah.
And just switching it.
Isn't that crazy? Because they probably thought they upgraded the service level.
Oh, yeah.
To be faster and trackable.
Realistically, they probably were even sold to by that agent, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's going to be so good. It's going to be faster and all this stuff. And then...
Which might have been true.
Yes, but like they don't recognize the actual implication of it.
And that's a classic example of that experience where duty and taxes due at delivery, right? And if that's presented all up front and the final cost, some of those problems you go away.
You might pick UPS if you knew that there were not going to be any fees, and because like these fees can get waived a lot of times, right? And so we have plenty of customers that use UPS, successfully, but they at least are able to tell the buyer what the total cost is going to be, and a lot of times it's lower. It is lower if you do it up front in the cart. It's lower than it is at delivery. Like you can lower a lot of those costs. But
it's also easier to track though if you do it that way. So you can actually track cart abandonments on. Okay, we switched to UPS. We've dropped this much.
Right.
That's actually what I wanted to talk through too. Is there's a lot of ways to present your shipping methods to the shoppers. It might be just a generic name of standard shipping or free shipping or whatever, international shipping. But do you find with international shoppers that they're a little more sensitive to the actual carrier? And do you find more success in listing the carrier's names in checkout?
We haven't actually tracked that data, interestingly. But I'm curious now about it.
I am actually very curious.
Yeah, I've never. I'm like, ooh.
All right, let's pull that one off together. Yeah,
let's do it.
So I want to. You gave the Canadian perspective, which was great. Like you're looking at who the carrier is. You're making decisions based on who it's going to be. You already know what to expect. What other regions, and maybe you might not know their cross-border buying behavior, but even their preferences, whether they like things delivered to a locker or something else. Like what are some interesting regions, or are there any that you think would be a good call out for just different behaviors in different countries for what they expect with shipping?
I would say the UK.
That was
the UK again because of just the way their postal system's set up. You could have places that are very remote, similar. Even though the UK is not as big as Canada, you still have kind of the same issue with, the remoteness and how prices can skyrocket. And it doesn't seem like it would be a big deal, but all of a sudden, you get double the shipping cost. So being able to control those kind of more localized regions within a bigger region has been a big thing as well.
Well, I've noticed because I go to the UK often, and they are very into having the more like the lockers systems because of Porsche pirates. God, pirates came back again.
That's the theme of the day.
But they prefer those because there's just so many people in such a small area that it is hard for the delivery people as well. Like I remember when I ordered shoes, shockingly, to a hotel, and I'm like, how do I put this address in? But for them, they just don't want their stuff stolen. Yeah. Realistically, it's more likely to happen.
And those are some of the features then that you guys help manage, right? Is the expectations around how it's going to be delivered, time frame, all of that.
Well, because we can offer either because you can put whatever address you want. So if you have a pickup locker, you can easily do that in the shipping regardless, but you can also have signature required as an option as well. Because even locally to where we are, there are some areas where theft happens and people just want that extra layer of security. It costs them maybe a few extra dollars, but at least they know, okay, I have to sign for this and no other person's going to take it from me.
So I as we, kind of get close to wrapping up here, I want to first just, whether it's tips but maybe even just features, right? Like what are the, you talked about smart boxing, like maybe explain some of the maybe top 4 or 5 features that people are looking for that besides, hey, help me calculate this right based on dimensions and weight, right? Like what are those things that they come to you for that they like to enable?
Yeah, I would say delivery time expectation. So, knowing when that product is going to show up. It might be a time-sensitive item that you need by a certain date. So being able to show that consumer when it's going to show up has been very important.
And that's dependent on, lead time for fulfillment and then also weekends? Like how do you manage all these different variables?
For me, as a professional online shopper, I love these features. I am.
Wait, professional online shopper, that means you get paid to shop. Is that how that works? How do I sign up for that?
I call it market research. My bank account calls it a problem, okay?
R&D. The R&D budget from Intuitive
It's a tax write-off then.
But something that has always irritated me is Amazon is Amazon. They are completely separate. People shop there. So people have this weird mentality where they see overnight shipping. They're like, what's going to come tomorrow? If it's past when the carrier came that day, or if it's on a Friday, it's not shipping till the next day or until the Monday. So overnight is not possible. So one of my favorite features is that you can actually create a setting of per carrier when they actually come for the day. And any orders placed after that automatically adds an additional day. If that's the weekend, it's the weekend. And it helps control that expectation, because there's nothing worse for a retailer than having an angry customer because, well, where's my order? I needed that dress for Susie's wedding. Now you have to refund the shipping cost, which they paid more for Express, because it didn't actually meet the expectation that you did set at checkout. So that's one of my favorite features, because it's I guess what I do is quite self-serving, because I'm just designing the product for someone who does shop online a lot.
Yeah, it's typically when you come to me with a new feature, like, I had this problem when I was shopping. Can we solve it?
It is.
Yeah, let me think about it.
But it is. But even free shipping is so great. It does convert better. However, some people need it tomorrow. A lot of people are last minute people. And if you only offer standard shipping, maybe it's low cost and or free, you are still losing customers, because if they need it for the wedding this weekend, for the baby shower, for the holiday, the birthday they forgot about, they need to know, will it arrive in time for this event? So if you don't offer express at all, that can be bad for you. And also if you don't offer delivery date and you have the range of 3 to 5 days, so it could come in time or it might not. So having that just clarity, it helps with those really long-term customer relationships, and they keep coming back because you're not lying to them.
Do you find this is a little more difficult on the cross-border side, where you have, customs and different days, different time zones? Like, how do you manage delivery dates when it's a cross-border shipment?
Right now, we recommend that our clients, because I know with the beta, I think we had our first customer come on Thursday with this. So once this is actually fully launched and good to go, it'll offer that clarity, because it goes through a lot faster.
Yeah.
But right now, depends on how many parcels.
Right.
And if Susie had a bad day, it might take 3 weeks. Who knows?
So what you're referring to in
domestic.
Right.
Yeah.
So with Zonos, right, us being integrated into the Intuitive Shipping plugin, and by the time this podcast launches, guess what? It's live, everybody.
Oh my God, you can do both?
Right. Yes, hopefully we help create that more predictable time frame for you, for your customers, based on the fact it's just going to get through customs and get delivered and not get held.
And it's just frustrating, because there's, I don't know about anyone else, but there's also data that says, like, people on average look at their track information at least 4 times. When it ships, like, did it ship yet? Is it just the label printed? And then they want to see, like, where is it? Okay, it's in this state now. It's here now. And they keep checking on it.
Isn't that the most annoying thing, though, when you go to track it and it's like, label created. And that's it. And then you're waiting.
What is that available yet?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Okay, so they kind of shipped it.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
just
But
know
they
it's
really
sitting
didn't
there.
yet.
Yeah. And when it gets caught at the customs, though, because once it gets passed over, it's just a black box. You have no idea. And you're like, where are my shoes?
Yeah.
It's really sad.
Okay. Do you order anything other than shoes?
Tall people pants. I do have a lot of shoes. He has like 5 pairs. I'm the person
You got your outdoor shoes. You've got your.
I had my
Right.
carry-on was just shoes for this trip.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, for the 2 days you're here, I'm glad
Okay,
you got to switch them up.
I'm going away after 2, so it's for 2 different trips. But yeah.
Okay. You're good.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you own an online store and you're selling internationally, let's say. What are the key things? This is just kind of a recap, but you want to convert and retain shoppers, because I think there's an element we've touched on a little bit, but holding on to your shoppers and having them come back and buy again because they had a good experience is really, really important.
Oh, super important.
But what are the key things you do to set up your store? What are the main features that you're looking for to offer to your customers?
Outside of shipping? Or with
Just
shipping?
within the shipping experience, what's the most important thing? If you're just getting started, let's say.
The first thing, which I personally feel is the most important, is having an actual shipping information page that provides a lot of context and clarity for people. Not everyone's going to read it, but the people who do, you're just saying, hey, we dispatch orders these days. This is how long it takes to fulfill. This is who we ship with, because some people, you might have the best UPS delivery person in your town. My town, the person chucks it out the window. Like it really varies for people. So starting with that, then figuring out like what is realistic and making sure to do the kind of math we're talking about, having it where like, does it make sense to charge $12 for shipping an $8 bottle of hot sauce? Probably not. So fixing that around, providing context. So delivery dates are huge because most people have them now. Having those upsell messages, because you want, especially if you're newer, you want the higher cart values, because if you do get a return, at least you still retain some money, which is nice too. And then making sure that it ships quickly. They actually fulfill on time. Don't have it sitting at your warehouse for a bit, or even if you're self-fulfilling, don't have it sitting for a few days, because people want it as quickly as possible. And if you are looking to ship internationally, please just do it. Use Zonos. Just do something just to make sure that the customers can make sure that they're actually having that context and making sure that they're going to come back. Because people don't like
I
being
would
lied
say
to.
they would rather have the surprise at checkout than at the door.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Okay, one other question, kind of about looking to the future. Amazon completely changed the game on buyer expectations. It used to be you just paid shipping when you went to the checkout, right? And that was okay. They've completely transformed the buyer's expectation, and that's bled into individual retailers having to try to mimic that in one form or another. Is there another transformation in the future that you see coming, or do you see buyer behavior changing in a new way moving forward? And if so, what is that?
So, do you want to go?
I was going to say, the optimist in me, with it being Earth Month, would be that people would move to more sustainable models, which Amazon, not really sustainable. So yeah, hopefully the shift is that, where it's, maybe delaying your deliveries slightly to consolidate more so that you're not sending as many trucks out on the road. That would be where I hope it goes. Maybe that could be an optimistic view of it.
The package sizes?
Yes. So again, kind of, tying it back to smart boxing, reducing your package waste with, having more accuracy in your package dimensions, being able to, reduce your box sizes, your packing material. Was it 170,000?
Oh, it's more than that now. So
yeah, when we pulled the data.
So smart boxing sends the data to the warehouses, so it reduces the excess packaging by around 40%. So the official stat will just say, but it's much larger than that now. We've reduced the equivalent of over 100,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools from being filled with excess packing materials. Like that, it's insane. If you actually try to
that's
picture
crazy.
that's insanity. Because we've all had that package where you're like, "Where's the thing?" It's just a
It's
bunch
unreal.
of tissue.
Yep. Yeah.
So.
Well, and this is where incentives. A lot of times you get if a carrier gives a waiver on a dimensional weight, guess what? Then these bad behaviors occur, right? And so it's why Amazon, when you see it, because they've probably got that waiver, you get.
Well, they're doing everything themselves now, it seems. So
Yeah,
yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's
Now, yeah, maybe they'll.
unfortunate because yes, cardboard is recyclable, but there's also all of the extra everything to create it, to transport it, even to be recycled into something else. So it's let's just use less. And I'm hoping that we've all seen some, not even just Amazon, there are shady businesses. They don't treat their employees well. It's just they kind of skirt the employment laws and such. So I think that if brands actually focus on explaining, hey, here's how we treat our employees well. Hey, here's why it may take an extra day to ship because we let our employees sleep. Like there's ways they can make people more likely to be okay with paying an extra couple of dollars for the same item because, well, I've built loyalty with this brand. Like they always deliver when they say. There's usually maybe an extra thing in like the parcel is a bit fun. There's no waste. So it's just, I'm hoping, I guess that is the optimist in both of us, that we're hoping that retailers, I'm hoping consumers actually really because that's how it's going to drive it. I hope that we kind of force them.
I do think retailers drive it. I mean, I was looking at flights the other day, and it had an option, for reducing the carbon footprint, right?
But it doesn't,
for a lower cost.
It doesn't do anything. It's the Earth isn't like, oh my god, that $10. Thank you so much, Clint.
Right.
Like the ozone layer is fixed. There's also, they're not regulated either in most cases.
Right.
It's just greenwashing. You're just paying this fee that goes to an organization you hope that the airline vetted, and a lot of times it's just not doing anything.
But and this is where I think but however, what you have identified is this is something consumers want, is they do want and are willing to pay more to have an impact on the environment if they could. And so there's plenty of people out there that if you can give that information at checkout, right, on look, if you can just wait another day or two, and these can kind of ship out together, it lowers. And if you can educate them and inform them, I think that I don't think that you're that far off on that future trend. I definitely can see that happening. So,
you?
Well, and what I like about where the space we're in is we can have that consumer make the choice before the impact is already made, rather than covering it with costs or carbon offsets. It's making that choice before the impact is already done.
Yeah, spot on. Well, hey, this has been awesome. Just learning about intuitive shipping, but also just about consumers and merchants, the challenges with calculating shipping rates, and then the expectations of shoppers. Definitely appreciate you two coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you. And till next time, appreciate it.